We have very good evidence of the resurrection. We have multiple independent sources. We also have the early creed in 1 Corinthians 15, verses 3 through 8, which scholars date back within 1 to 5 years of the resurrection, where Paul writes, "For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures, and that he was seen of Cephas, then the 12. After that he was seen of above 500 brethren at once, of whom the greater part remain unto this present, but some are fallen asleep. After that he was seen of James, then of all the apostles, and last of all he was seen of me also, as of one born out of due time." This formula that we see in 1 Corinthians lists the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. It also lists 3 individuals and 3 groups that saw Jesus after his resurrection. Peter, James, and Paul are the 3 individuals it lists, and then the 12, the 500, and all the apostles are the 3 groups it lists. Now, if we combine this with the independent accounts of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, as well as the sermons and the Acts of the Apostles, we have a very strong case for the resurrection, because it's too early to be legend. This is what the earliest Christians believed. Now, there are 4 main facts about the resurrection that the majority of scholars agree on. Fact number 1 is that Jesus died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. Scholars have said that if we can know anything about Jesus, is that he died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. Fact number 2 is the burial by Joseph of Arimathea. This is attested to in all 4 Gospels. What's more is that Joseph was a member of the Sanhedrin, so the gravesite would have been made public. Fact number 3 is the empty tomb. It's clear that there's no way the apostles could have proclaimed that the tomb was empty if it wasn't, because that would have been easily debunked and Christianity never would have arose. This is even more confirmed in Matthew's account when the Jews accused the disciples of stealing Jesus' body and claiming the guards had fell asleep. It would seem that was the best they could come up with, since the tomb really was empty. Also, the women followers of Jesus first discovered the empty tomb. This is significant because in the Jewish culture in the 1st century, women's testimony was not considered reliable. So the best way to explain this is that it really was the women that first discovered the empty tomb. Fact number 4 is that individuals as well as groups experienced appearances of Jesus alive after his death. This is a fact that is universally acknowledged among New Testament scholars for the following reasons. 1, the list of eyewitnesses to Jesus' resurrection appearances, which is quoted by Paul, guarantees that such appearances occurred. Given the early date of this information, as well as Paul's personal acquaintance with the people involved, such appearances cannot be dismissed as legendary, but must be referred to as actual events. Second, the appearance narratives in the Gospels provide multiple independent attestation of the appearances. For example, the appearance to Peter is attested by Luke and Paul. The appearance of the 12 is attested by Luke and John and Paul. The appearance to the women is attested by Matthew and John. And appearances in Galilee are attested by Matthew, Mark, and John. So what is the best explanation for these facts? We have 3 options. The disciples could have stolen Jesus' body and pretended that he was resurrected, but that doesn't fit for a number of reasons. 1, what motivation could they possibly have for that? They already believed that they were God's chosen people. Secondly, what did they have to gain by it? To be in prison and eventually martyred for something they knew wasn't true? No, that doesn't fit. The other option is maybe they hallucinated, but everything that we know about hallucinations tells us that they're individual experiences like dreams and not group experiences. So that doesn't seem to fit either. And then the last option is that Jesus really did rise from the dead. Based on all the evidence and based on the explosion of the early Christian church, it is the best explanation.